welcome to Random Fandom Chats. I'm Tandra.
I'm Dee Dee.
And this is Annabeth. And here we talk about pretty much anything and everything sci-fi, fantasy related. Books, comics, movies,
TV shows. And today we're actually talking about the movies of the Harry Potter franchise. We decided to go ahead and just cover pretty much our opinions on all of the movies in one vlog. Because unlike the books, it's kind of hard to go in depth with the movies. As many people will say, the books are better than the movies in a lot of ways.
they are.
Now let's start off. What would you say is your favorite out of the movies?
Well, I think probably 1 and 2. And that's mostly because they followed the books quite well.
And part of that is the original source material, because they are the shortest of the books, so it's very easy to adapt it to the medium. So that's probably just because, it was easiest to do it.
Well, but the other thing I noticed with the first two, and because the third one upset me so much because they changed so many things, I got a really good sense of Hogwarts.
It had a magical feel to it.
It did. And when they started changing things up in the third movie,
they lost that a lot.
And they changed, like, everything that we had seen in the first two movies that made us have a visual of what we were looking at. They just totally revamped it all. And did it in such a way that I was not...
It almost didn't make sense. Like, they changed the interior and exterior of the castle. They pretty much had them stop wearing their wizarding robes almost altogether.
Yeah, which makes no sense, because they're supposed to be wearing them all the time.
Right.
So yeah, that was just odd. I'm not sure why they made those choices.
Well, I know they switched directors after the first two, but it just seemed like a lot of changes just simply because they changed directors.
It did. Now, in later movies, as you were saying, with the first two movies, it was a little easier for them to follow the books and do whatever. I also think maybe J.K. Rowling had more
power with the first two.
Maybe.
Influence.
Because I remember seeing interviews with her during the time that the movies were being made. And I remember seeing the screenwriter. And he was talking about how she had to approve everything, and that sometimes she would give him a hint or say, no, you have to leave this, or whatever, because it was something important that would show up later on. And of course, not all the books were made yet. They hadn't all been put out yet when they started making the movies.
Exactly.
But it seemed like as time went on, they changed up things a lot more often. They would leave out things. She kind of
stopped caring about the movies.
Or maybe she just didn't have as much influence. Or maybe they walked on her. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened. I just know they changed up a lot more stuff. They sometimes would put things in the movies that weren't even in the books.
I'm sorry, it still makes no sense that the burrow was set on fire.
No, yeah, that whole scene, it just makes, because it's not in the book anywhere.
There's no real reason behind it.
There was too many other things in the book that could have been put in that was not, that make more sense. And then you have an important character like Dobby, who
was pretty much erased from the narrative altogether. The only two books he was not in was the first one and the third one. Yet
in the movies, they had him only in the second one,
and then they had him show up in Deathly Hallows.
So it didn't make any sense. They really needed to progress that character along more. I don't remember now because I don't watch the movies nearly as often as I read the books. But did they even have Kreacher in?
They briefly showed Kreacher in Order of the Phoenix. They showed him, taking care of Sirius's mother's painting, once. And then they showed him with Dobby in Deathly Hallows.
Well,
that's all I remember.
Because he's an important character in the stories. And and I realize, he's some CGI work and some other stuff, but
I'm sorry, with the budget that these movies could have, that's not much of an excuse.
So as the movies progressed, I think they really... And with the last movie, they had the opportunity to do the whole thing, because even though the book was really long, they divided it up into 2 movies.
Exactly.
So they could have really
I will say that Deathly Hallows, for the later movies, was actually a decent adaptation.
It was better.
What I do remember of it. I've only seen those 2 movies once when we went to go see them in theaters, but I do remember feeling like they were finally trying to go back to being a little bit more like the first 2 movies.
They did do better, but like I said, they did make a mistake adding a few things that was... I mean, when you're sitting there, when you have a beloved book so much that you've read over and over again, that you hear these characters in your head, you visualize things,
You really have a good feel.
You have a good feel for it, and then all of a sudden you watch a movie
and you're like, wait a minute, what?
It's not what you're expecting to see. Now, realizing some things in books are really hard to portray in a film.
Especially when the narrative is coming from one person's point of view.
Right, and I get that, and I know you might have to change up a few things, maybe cut out a few things, but when it has things that are important or integral to the plot,
and they just completely write those off. And I've said this a lot, and I do not understand how people can watch the Harry Potter movies without reading the books and not be completely lost.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they can achieve that, because I've sat and watched the movies and I'm just like, And if I did not know the source material, I would have no idea what this scene or that scene or what are they doing.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
It's like, I don't understand what's happening right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and of course, now we had actually read the books before we saw the movies, and so maybe we're just not coming at it from the right angle, and maybe people who have seen the movies and not read the books, because there are people who do that, maybe it makes sense to them.
Maybe they just see it as an interesting kind of action-y movie with some magic involved, maybe.
I'm not sure how the movie, I don't think they portray
the essence of Harry Potter.
The whole intricacies of everything that happens, and
again, because they don't go into a lot of depth.
They don't. And some things are hard to project visually.
Especially with things like magic.
And get people to feel it in their hearts like you can when you read it. And I get that. But I do think in the first two movies they did a pretty good job.
They captured it really well, actually.
I think so.
Maybe it was just because the plots were simpler. Like I said earlier, maybe it was just because the books were shorter, so it was easier to get everything they needed to get into the movie.
I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what all was going on. But I do know that as time went on, I was not as enthralled to see the movies as I would have wanted to have been, because it often was a disappointment.
It wasn't like when the books came out and you were so excited and you went
to all the midnight places to go get them and started reading them as soon as you got home.
It's not even like, like being excited for a new Star Wars movie or anything. It was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. It's Harry Potter, pretty much. We'd go see anything Harry Potter related.
Sure.
I will say, it's not about Harry Potter himself, but if you guys haven't seen Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, it's actually just recently come out on DVD and Blu-ray, and it's actually a really good movie.
And I have not had a chance to see it yet, and I kind of really want to.
It is a good movie, and I felt like it really did kind of capture more of the magic aspect of the Harry Potter movies. It was less of kind of a teen action movie like some of the some of the other Harry Potter movies were. So, again, kind of like how they did in Deathly Hallows, I think they kind of started to redeem themselves with the movies and kind of started redeeming themselves with this movie a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it hit the big splash that a Harry Potter movie would normally hit, but hopefully it did well.
I think it did. I know all I've heard is good feedback from the movie.
So that's good. And I'm looking forward to actually getting a chance of seeing it sometime in the near future. Because it did look good when I saw the ads for it. And of course, without having read the source material for it first, maybe I won't go into it with a preconceived notion of this is what it should look like, this is what it should be like.
Well, it wasn't based off of a book. It was based off of a character who wrote a textbook in the Harry Potter universe.
Right, so that makes it a little easier that maybe...
We don't have a book to read to be disappointed by the movie in.
Right, so that should help. So, but yeah, the Harry Potter movies for young kids who, especially if they've had the books read to them, they might enjoy them because they're characters that they know and love. And of course, I love the actors that portray.
Yes, that is one thing, is that the acting choices were always really good.
Right, I did like that part of it. I like who they got to portray all the main characters and even all the supporting characters. I thought they did a good job.
Although, one thing that I will always bring up when they talk about the movies is I was very thoroughly annoyed at how they got much older actors to portray Lily and James in the movies. Lily and James were only 21 when they died, and they get these actors who look like they're in their 30s.
Well, that's the other important plot point, is Harry's supposed to look like his father. And there's a scene where Harry actually thinks it's his father, or thinks it's his dad, and it's really Harry.
In the third book.
And they end up getting different actors instead. Why can't Harry play his father? He's supposed to be his. It's not that hard to make actors look older, especially once they started doing that.
Yeah, maybe they just thought early on it was a little bit too hard to make him look.
Well, early on they really didn't show much of the parents in the first.
Right, like the whole older actor thing in the first movie with the Mirror of Erised, I could totally see why they would get older actors to portray them, because it is Harry looking at the mirror, envisioning his parents through his mind.
Right, because he's not ever seen pictures of them.
Right, and so he would envision them as they probably would be at age 11, when he was at age 11, so they would be a little bit older. But when they started showing, like, in Goblet of Fire, where they show up when him and Voldemort are battling, or in the Deathly Hallows, they really needed to get actors who look more faithful to what Lily and James
or have,
like.
well, and especially Harry, Daniel Radcliffe should have played that character, especially when they were showing the scenes of when he was a teenager at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Why not use him? He was supposed to look just like him other than his eyes.
Yeah, there was no reason why he couldn't have.
Right, there was no reason. His hair, could have been done just slightly different, or, just slightly
in the fifth book, he was the same age as his father.
Right, there was no reason why they could not have used him, and that made
Get him
no
different
sense.
glasses.
Yeah, I mean,
get him different glasses. Maybe have him wear like some older looking clothing that would have been more time appropriate.
Right,
but
that's all it would have taken. And so that was something else that did bother me was that it didn't make sense. Once again, it didn't fit with the storyline, because that was an important plot thing that was brought up constantly.
Is that he looked just like James, but had Lily's
So when
eyes.
they don't use them, it's like,
it's kind of like
why?
Why?
Why not? It didn't make sense.
Especially because Daniel Radcliffe is such a good actor that when they showed his dad, he could definitely play as a totally different person and make it believable that this is not the same as Harry.
Yeah, that would not have been a difficult thing at all. All right, well, I think that kind of wraps up our thoughts on the movies. They're worth watching. Like I said, especially younger children who like the characters.
Again, just for general Harry Potter fans, they're a good thing just because they're Harry Potter, but just don't set your expectations too high.
And they're definitely not something I think you'd want to rewatch over and over and over again, but maybe. I mean, if you enjoy movies and all.
Again, it's more of an action-y take on the series, so maybe if you like that kind of portrayal,
it works. Well, let's see what we're going to do for next time.
Going to help us pick one, Anna?
You're going to pick one this time? Oh, heart's just a thud. Here we go, baby. Let me just grab a few. Hey, which one? Oh, that's my hand. Which one? This one? Okay. Alrighty. What we got for next time? TV Lex.
Oh, that's an older sci-fi TV show.
A
shorter run one.
Yeah, well, it ran for a while. I think the Sci-Fi Network's the one who produced that, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, if you guys like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you like what we do, subscribe. Feel free to leave us any comments or suggestions in the section below.
And definitely check out our specials, because every once in a while we'll pop in one that is not part of the regular series. It's either something that is coming up like a new movie, or it's just a topic that we are interested in, or just something else we've kind of wanted to throw out there. So those are always worth checking out, and we'll see you next time.